I am actually cooking chicken parmesan tonight. I think it's one of my favorite dishes I make, and Crystal would agree. Biggest thing is prep up. I mean, I went to a local meat store and I got a whole breast of chicken, and I was able to cut it up into 4 pieces. Now what I did is I had this parchment paper and I kind of just smacked the crap out of it to flatten them out. And so it's gonna make it cook easier that way. So right over here is that you have to kind of dip your chicken in certain things to give it the texture on the outside. And so right here, it's just flour. I put a little bit of salt and pepper inside the flour to help. I'm not exactly sure why I do it, just to kind of put seasoning in there, and I'm assuming it'll stick well in there. I'm sure there's people out there that knows a lot more than me about this. Here I have 3 eggs, and I actually put a little bit of milk in it too and just mix it up with a fork. Then right here I have some breadcrumbs, and they're actually store-bought. I could make my own, but I don't know how to do them very well. But it's Italian style, Progresso. It's actually not bad. It has pretty much all the seasonings you want in it. I just put a little extra paprika in it, and I also get Parmesan cheese, and I shred some Parmesan cheese in there as well. So what we do now is that we're gonna cover the chicken in the flour. And so you want to make sure you cover everything out and kind of dump it in there. And then before you dump it into the egg wash, you kind of want to smack off the excess flour in there. And so I just kind of stand over the sink and do this part. I'm working with a limited space here. It works all the same. I'm gonna need a plate to put this on.
You gonna watch Daddy?
Yeah.
You stand right there, okay?
Alright, after you do that, dump it into the egg wash. Now with different containers this will be a lot easier. But I have a small one, so I gotta make do with what I got. But I just kind of dip it on one side, make sure it's fully submerged, or at least as submerged as it's gonna get, and then flip it to the other side. Make sure that all sides get the egg wash. After that, let it drip out a little bit, and I put it in my breadcrumb bowl. And I just kind of cover the chicken in it, try to cover it as best as I can, flip it around, no swear. And try to cover every little bit and piece of this with the breadcrumbs.
Sawyer, no thank you.
Children getting into everything.
No, thank you.
Alright, so that one is satisfactory.
And then you just repeat it with the other ones, right?
Yeah, I repeat with the other pieces.
Okay.
And so I'll go ahead and do that right now, and then I'll bring you up to when I do the next thing. Next thing you want to do is that you want to get a pan, and I can probably turn up the heat just a little bit. And you want to start it hot. You want to make sure you get it hot and the oil's hot before you even put it in. You want to have a nice sizzle when it goes in there. Now make sure when you put it in, you place the chicken away from you, so that way it doesn't splash the oil onto you and burn you. And so I just like to place it on the outside. It is sizzling, not as much as I want it to, but it's enough to where I can keep these in here.
Turn the vent fan on too.
I'll turn it on in a second.
Oh.
Alright, then we're gonna place these in here and let it cook for a couple minutes on each side. Now what's gonna happen is that when I do flip it, I only want to flip it once. Let me see if I can. It's probably a big memo, but I'm gonna try it out anyway. Make sure you clean up after yourself. But you want to flip it once, and then once you do flip it that one time, I actually got a big tub of butter, and I just throw some butter in there. It kind of gives it some extra flavor, and it's really, really tasty that way. So right now I'm just going to let it cook for a couple minutes on each side. If you don't have a meat thermometer, I highly suggest one, especially when you're dealing with chicken, just because obviously you don't want to have chicken that is raw in the middle, because then you can get salmonella and no one wants that. Especially your wife.
True.
So I'll let it cook on a couple minutes here. I'll flip it over, cook a couple minutes. I'll make sure to throw in all the butter at the same time. And once that's done, I'll make sure to clue you in on the next step. Alright, so I flipped it over once, and you kind of have this like golden brown crust on the outside. When you have color, that actually adds flavor to it. That is me setting it to broil, and it let me know that it is done, because broil is going to be the next step here, and I'll show you why. And so right now, I'm just kind of letting this cook, letting the butter kind of seep in and get that flavor in. But it looks good, and I'm telling you, it smells really good right now too. Alright, so while you were cooking your chicken on the pan, what you wanted to do is you wanted to turn the oven on, go to broil. I just do 400 degrees, that's fine enough. Next step, what you're gonna do is that you're gonna pick your favorite marinara sauce. If you make your own, that's great. If you wanna buy a store-bought, that's fine, because that's what I do. And you kinda wanna just a spoonful of marinara sauce, or 2 on each side. Actually, you can apply as much marinara as you want. I actually suggest putting up as much as you can, kind of cover that sucker on one side, because it helps with the flavor later on, and it tastes really good. Alright, after that, and here's a really interesting step. Also, when you're about to put your chicken into the oven, you want to get a bowl, hot water. This is if you want to do some spaghetti with it. I'm gonna do it a different way than what some people do it. But you want to get hot water, put it in the pan, put the pan on the stove, and make sure you turn it on. So obviously it starts boiling, but that is kind of like self-explanatory, right? Next thing you want to do is that you want mozzarella cheese and you want Parmesan cheese. Or maybe you can even do whatever cheese you want, but I suggest mozzarella and Parmesan. And you're kind of go ahead and just shred this cheese on top of it. And when I say like shred it, like make sure you have like a good amount so you can cover this in cheese. The more cheese, the better. Because what's going to happen is that when you put it in a broiler, what you're wanting to do is obviously you want the cheese to melt, but you also want it to get this like golden brown kind of color. And when that happens, there's probably a more efficient way of doing this. When that happens, it actually adds a lot of flavor. Now, something I also suggest is that before you put it in and after you're done shredding, and because I'm going to shred some Parmesan and put it on top, another layer on top of this mozzarella layer, I suggest actually salt and peppering the cheese, and it kind of gives it a little more flavor and taste. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this done, and I'll bring you up to speed when I'm about to put them in. Alright, so spaghetti, obviously just put in as much as you want to put in. Best way to do it is I kind of like split it up in half and I put it in. This is angel hair, so I'm imagining it's going to go a lot quicker. Where's my thumb? So once it starts to thaw out, what you want to do is you kind of want to grab the bottom and you want to twist it, and so it kind of falls into the pan. What you also want to do, and I should have done this before it started boiling, is you actually want to put a little bit of olive oil in there.
Should go get our son.
And you also want to put salt in the water. And so you're going to let it boil, obviously get to the point where you want it. Once it stops boiling and once it's fairly cooked, you're going to drain it out. And at that point, we're going to mess with the herbs a little bit, but I'll bring you up when we're about to start that. So just had to kind of do a couple steps on my own. Cooper was freaking out, so we didn't want you guys to be hearing me and hearing him at the same time. So what I did, this is a little bit different than what I'm used to. I did angel hair this time. You want to get some Italian parsley. You want to chop that up, get it very finely chopped. It doesn't need a whole lot, just and go how much you want to put into it. And you'll dump that in there. Obviously, you'll put a little more olive oil. I put a little bit of butter as well, and then you also want to salt it. And then you can either go with some spaghetti sauce, or you can go with the same marinara that you would use for the chicken parmesan. And you want to put it in there and mix it up. Once you start mixing it up, you're going to get some basil, and you're just going to like rip off those small chunks and then put them inside the spaghetti. And then after that, you just kind of keep mixing it up until you're happy with how it looks. And so this is just going to be like a small little part of the dish. Obviously, it's just kind of like a side to the main dish, which is the chicken parmesan. Right now, chicken parmesan is still cooking, but the cheese is starting to melt, and it once it gets into that little brown color, like a toasted brown, kind of like when you're toasting a marshmallow. When you get that golden brown crust, not the dark, obviously not dark, because then that's burnt. But that little golden brown, that's what you want. And it's getting there. It's really close. Right now, it's starting to get. So
I can't really see. There's just a reflection of me and Ollie. Yeah.
So right here is the finished product, and so it's got just a little bit of a tint in there, and so it's not as brown as I wanted it to be, but it's cooked fully on the inside, and it's gonna be just as yummy. And then there's the spaghetti. I got the boys all set. All I know is that all put together, it does make a really delicious dish. It's one of Crystal's favorites. Crystal is the type of person that if she eats it all, that means she loves it. She doesn't eat a whole lot all the time, and so when I do make something good, she'll eat all of it. That's when I know I did something good. And so this is one of her favorite dishes, and it's one of mine. And so thanks for watching this, and you know, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll find the answer and let you know.
What do you think of Daddy's chicken parmesan, Sawyer?
Oh, nummy.
It's nummy. Cooper, what do you think of Daddy's chicken parmesan?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
And I like it. That's it. Eat this up.